I'm driving down the 10 east from LA and I encounter a dust storm. And I had never encountered a dust storm before. And so I'm in this dust storm and it literally feels like it's the apocalypse. The whole freeway becomes black. It starts raining. I pulled my U-Haul over on the side of the 10 and I started crying because I was literally thinking like, this is it. This is my sign that I'm making a huge mistake and everything is going to basically go to hell. What's cracking, guys? Jamil here, and I am gonna do a series of videos where we're gonna dive into the mindset of entrepreneurship. As you guys may know, I have started a community called The Energy of Money, and we talk about incredible concepts there that bridge the gap between spirituality and entrepreneurship. And for any of you who realize that making money is a spiritual process, then this video will be for you. Because today I'm going to be discussing 10 signs that God is talking to you, or the universe, whatever you want to call it, and guiding you in your life. All right, guys, so I hear from people all the time. Jamil, okay, I've been doing the work, I'm practicing meditation, I'm visualizing, I'm staying in the identity of the person that I'm trying to become. I am taking action, but I'm also resisting getting attached to any results. But I don't know if I'm on the right track, right? How do I know if I am being nudged in a new direction or if I'm just experiencing an obstacle that I need to push through? And this can be a pretty delicate or tricky concept for people because, of course, we are being guided all the time. There's forces, and you can call these things whatever you want. I call them our guides, our friends. There are friends out there who are helping us, trying to push us in the right direction to help us become the highest and best version of ourselves. And that means when we are facing critical moments, critical decisions in our life that are going to make or break the next 5 to 7 years of our situation, these signs become very evident. And you've probably seen some signs or felt like, was that for me? Well, I'm here to tell you that it very likely was. And if it's one of these 10 things, then you do realize that you are actually being guided and you should really pay attention to what is happening out there. So the first sign that I want to talk about is a sudden obstacle. Because a sudden obstacle is really one of the most confusing things that can happen, right? For people, if a sudden obstacle appears, they think, oh, maybe this is a sign that I really shouldn't be doing this. Or a sudden obstacle means, hey, maybe this is a sign that I need to exert myself more and I need to show up in a better way. So how do you tell the difference? Well, it's actually pretty delicate to unpack which way to know, but here's how I look at it, right? If it is a red flag, if a sudden obstacle is a red flag and not a sign for me to continue and, maybe bring more energy or bring a better solution to the table. If it's a red flag, typically what ends up happening is I can see myself forcing the situation. So I'm going to use an example like real estate because I know a lot of you follow me for real estate content and this will be pretty relatable to you. So let's talk about maybe your first deal or a deal that you could have been working on, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you were trying to make something work that just wasn't going to work, right? And you spent a bunch of time, you possibly even spent money, and you had these red flags, but for whatever reason, there was this thing in you that just said,
I really want this to work. I really need this one to work.
And you then chase that deal, right? And even though you had all of these obstacles popping up and kind of trying to push you in the different direction, you were forcing through. You were pushing it through, even though you were getting counsel otherwise, and likely your own gut was telling you this is probably not a good idea. I've seen this happen so many times with people in their first deal. The reality is it's not you needing to show up with more energy. What happens is, a lot of times the reason why people get so laser focused on their first deal and they do a little bit of work and they get this thing in their hand and they're like, this needs to be the one that works. If this one doesn't work, then I know I'm not supposed to do this. Well, that's you saying, hey, I'm really not interested in putting more effort into this. I really just want my first time to be like a win. So if this doesn't make sense for me, then I'm just gonna give up. And that is a total cop-out. That is you saying, hey, I'm really not interested in continuing to learn. I don't want to, take care of the process here. I'm going to put all of my eggs in the basket of this maybe non-deal deal. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, I'm going the other direction, right? And so know yourself find that part of you that knows when you are just dialing it in or really going down the line because you're acting lazy, right? And guys, I've done this myself too, right? I'm learning a new skill and I really want the first thing or the first few things that I do to work out. And as soon as it doesn't work out, my ego gets involved and it starts telling me, oh my God, this is a risk and you're gonna lose money or you're gonna lose face or you're gonna lose both. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I should just not do this. Now, on the other side, right, when you are supposed to be pushing forward, but it requires you to do a little bit more, this is where I feel like you can see what the next step is. You know what the next step is, and to get to the next step is going to require some effort. So yeah, sure, there's an obstacle in front of you, but there's a rope right there with the obstacle that says, hey, by the way over the obstacle is this rope. And you can see it, and you know what it is, and you know exactly which way to go, because when it's God, when it's meant to happen, when it's serendipity and synchronistic, there's always going to be a way. You see, God delivers the next step. You just have to show up and take the one that's in front of you. When you take the one that's in front of you, the one that's next always shows up. That's how I know the difference, right? It's if I'm trying to, force a circle into a square hole, that makes sense. Or am I really just needing to come in with more action, with more energy? So this is where you've truly got to ask yourself. All right, the second way that I know that I'm being guided is when things just naturally unfold. And this is a piggyback off of the first. You've ever been in those situations where you meet a person and then that person gives you an idea. And then minutes later, you meet the next person that helps you connect the dots to that idea. And then you do a little bit of digging, and in that digging, you uncover another situation or dot that you get to connect to the first one, and it becomes this incredible Easter egg hunt with the most obvious, beautiful, and hilarious guides, right? They're the little notes that are telling you, hey, turn right at this street, ha ha ha, and it's like, oh my God, this is so cool that I'm actually given a map. I'm given a treasure map here. And I look at it as a game, right? I gamify these situations because I want to bring joy. I want to bring, again, a high level of consciousness, a high level of energy to the activity that I'm doing. But when things just naturally unfold, I meet those people, I get to connect the dots. That's when I know that something is divinely ordained. And I look at relationships in my life. Look at the way that I met Pace. Right? I'm not even a social media guy, even though you're watching me on YouTube. Rewind me back to 7 years ago. My Instagram picture was an owl, okay? I didn't even have my own face on my Instagram. I didn't even have my name there. Damji, I didn't even want to have my whole full name. I was checking my DMs every few weeks. Pace Morby sends me a DM because he wanted to ask me a question about a guy who was doing business with him that he kind of felt funny about. Now, of course, normally I get, random DMs from people and I don't really respond to them, right? I'm like, I get people DMing me, but, at the time, especially because I was relatively unknown, I saw the DM and I look at it and I remember having this feeling like, I've heard of this Pace guy before. He wasn't famous yet either. He was still really, kind of in the beginnings of his Instagram, fame. But I see this guy and I see, this guy looks like a good family guy. He's got a wife here, he's got kids, Asher at the time, and I just see a really wholesome person, and I could feel the pain in his message because, oddly enough, I had actually done business with the same SOB that was ripping him off. And so I had a piece of information for him that I knew if I delivered to him was going to hopefully change his life, or at least hopefully get him out of a situation that he was in. And so because I knew that it was like the natural unfolding and I could see that was a step for me, I accepted. I responded to the comment, I responded to the DM, and what ends up happening? We form the greatest collaboration that I'd say has happened in real estate investing of all time. And we have then gone on to create these incredible communities, and we've helped change the lives of tens of thousands of people and made hundreds of millions of dollars, and everything is amazing, right? But look at where it started. It started from a DM. And what's really interesting is that Pace and I, because we were competing a lot in the early days of our relationship, and we still compete today. Don't get me wrong. Pace and I barely own anything together. For the most part, we're brutal competitors of each other, but we don't compete in a way that's negative. We always compete in a way that's complementary. Here's an example. When we were chasing the same deal in Phoenix, Arizona, I remember he was going after a property that I was going after, and we were bidding against each other. And funny enough, I'm bidding with this wholesaler to get the house, and Pace is bidding with this wholesaler to get the house. And Pace is sending me the address, and he's like, hey, some a-hole is bidding me up on this property right now, and I need to know if I can go up a little bit higher on my price. Can you comp this for me? And I wrote back, I'm the a-hole. And he was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. So you're bidding against me right now? I'm like, yeah, what should we do? And he's like, well, stop. Why don't we just do it together? I'm like, cool. I'll tell him that I rescind. So I rescind my offer. Pace ends up getting the property, and we end up flipping the property together. Now, what ends up happening is we actually go and walk the property, and we invite a bunch of our Instagram people to come and walk it with us. And so we create a YouTube video, and it was one of the funniest videos that we had made because we were literally walking the house of a police officer who was also a hoarder. And, he had passed away, God rest his soul. And so we were going through his stuff, and I had never seen such filth, right? I was like a true pigsty, and I'm not saying that to be punny. But it was terribly dirty and terribly funny at the same time because there was just so many things in there that shouldn't have been in there for a person who was like law enforcement. Anyhow, that video gets posted on YouTube, which then gets seen by the producers of A&E, which then lands us a television show, which then helps accelerate our careers and blows things up. Do you see how that all happened? We were collaborating. We decided to not choose greed, to not fight each other, to do something together and to collaborate, which then leads to a YouTube video, which then leads to production companies seeing it, which then leads to 2 seasons of a television show, which again gets us here, right? And so when the next step just naturally unfolds, when things just seem to be clicking, that is a good sign that you're in the right thing. All right, number 3. Now, this is going to be one for all of you folks who love your angel numbers, right? Because some of you guys have angel numbers. I mean, I have angel numbers. Mine are 1212. Why are mine 1212? Because that's my birthday, December 12th. And it's the same day that I left Los Angeles to move to Phoenix, Arizona to start my real estate career and basically found Keeley. So imagine that, right? I leave LA, where I was not doing anything good. I was a failed stand-up comedian. I leave on 12/12/12, right? I leave LA and I come to Phoenix scared, not knowing if I'm going to succeed. I had just gotten engaged. I really wanted to show up as a provider in my new family, and I'm kind of wondering if I made the right choice or not. And what's really funny about it is I'm driving down the 10 east from LA, and I encounter a dust storm. And I had never encountered a dust storm before. And so I'm in this dust storm, and it literally feels like it's the apocalypse, right? The whole freeway becomes black. It starts raining. I pulled my U-Haul over on the side of the 10, and I started crying because I was literally thinking this is it. This is my sign that I'm making a huge mistake and everything is going to basically go to hell. Well, the storm passes, and what unfolds in front of me is one of the most picturesque, pristine, beautiful scenes I can ever remember seeing. The sun was there were clouds in the sky, it was a little bit wet on the ground, but it smelled fresh. It was like the most beautiful scene that I could possibly have on a freeway. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh, this is right. The storm is everything that I've been going through right now. And if I could just get through that storm, what's in front of me are clear days. And guys, that's exactly what it is, right? I build the nation's largest wholesale operation. I make friends with one of the coolest real estate investors of all time. We then go make a hit TV show together. And now we're doing seminars and conferences with 4,000 or 5,000 people showing up without even having to sell an ad for people to come. I mean, come on, right? How beautiful is this? How serendipitous is this? And so, of course, my angel numbers, 1212, they show up for me when it's a good thing. And I see 1212 on a clock when I'm having a conversation with somebody that, maybe I should pay a little bit more attention to this. Or I'll be walking along somewhere and I'll look at my watch and it'll say 1212, and then I see a billboard And that billboard inspires an idea in my head that's like, that's it, right? So my angel numbers, they kind of guide me that I should really pay attention to what's happening in my current situation. Now, Peace Morby has his angel numbers that are 1111. Why are his 1111? Well, because his son Asher was born on November 11th, and so for him, that's a very meaningful number. I'm sure you have angel numbers as well. Maybe it's 333, maybe it's 222. Hopefully it's not triple sixes, but hey, to each their own. The reality is angel numbers are true. Now, it's not just numbers that will show up. Animals as well can kind of show up and give you a sign. Like for me, when I'm thinking about something, or if I'm on the path towards something that could be pretty lucrative for me, I tend to see dragonflies. Dragonflies start showing up and letting me know that, hey, there's something interesting over here, and I pay attention to that. Now, of course, this may be another type of insect, it could be a bird, it could be a dog, it could be anything, but the animal will typically have some form of meaning for you. So you'll have a type of resonance with this specific type of animal. And so whatever it is, if it's an animal, if it's an insect, if it's angel numbers, if you see these things and they mean something to you, they're probably guiding you. Number 4 sign that you are being supported and guided by the universe, your creator, God, whatever you want to call it, is that you feel safe and supported in the chaos, right? You ever had those situations when things are just not going your way? I mean, it feels like the entire world for you is upside down. There's all kinds of things going on. There's so much uncertainty. Yet there's this level of peace, a calmness, if you will, in your demeanor, in your insides, in your emotional state that just makes you feel like, you know what, it's going to be okay. And I call that faithful surrender. That's when we have faith in our Creator, knowing that God has got us. And no matter what, even though I don't see a platform in front of me and I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, I'm going to walk because I know that God's hand will be there to make the bridge. And that's exactly what that feels like, because you feel so supported. You feel like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Now, this chaos may feel kind of, hard, and there may be some loss or some grief associated with it. But even then, there is that faithful surrender. And I can say that I experienced this when, my marriage fell apart, and that was really tough. But I also knew that happening was the best thing for both of us. You see, like, we've got a tremendous amount of love for each other, and I want to see the best for that woman. I want her to be in loving, happy, incredible relationships, and I want her to see her succeed and become the best version of herself. And I can tell you that she wants to see the same thing for me. And because we both have this love and care for each other, we both ended up knowing that that's not what we're going to experience if we were to stay together. See, we brought each other as far as we could, but now it was time for us to split so that we could then go farther. And so that faithful surrender, that sensation that all is well, everything is going to be okay. Maybe you've lost a job. Let's just say you are learning about real estate investing and then you lose your job. You get laid off or something happens, but there's really no sense of fear because you realize that, you know what, you're in the right place, you're learning the right thing, you feel super energized, super happy about it. And yeah, so what? You lost your W-2 job, but maybe this was the exact thing you needed to give you the time to allow you to go and start this new thing, right? And so the people that I've trained, and there's been over 5,000 of them who've come through the astro flipping community, some of them lost their W-2s and some of them had the confidence to just say, I'm out, because they had that faithful surrender that where they were at, what they were doing was really, truly meant for them. And because of that, they were totally okay to take on a little bit of discomfort, knowing that they were fully supported. And that faithful surrender, I'm telling you, it's one of the most incredible places that you can be, because you're in between two identities. And it's an uncomfortable place, but when you're comfortable in the uncomfortable situation, I know that's like super weird, but comfort in uncomfortable situations, that's a God thing. So pay attention. Sign number 5 that you're being guided is a sensation or a feeling like it's time to elevate or start fresh. You get that feeling like, I need to do something else. I gotta go somewhere else. I need a new environment. I need a change. I had that exact feeling happen to me when I was in Los Angeles, and I hadn't yet decided to move to Phoenix, but things were kind of pushing me in that direction. Right now, again, I was in LA doing stand-up comedy, wanting to be a rich and famous comedian. Now, of course, that didn't work. Did I become rich? Yes. Did I become famous? That's up to you to decide. But the reality is my dreams came true, right? Everything that I wanted happened. It just didn't happen over there. It happened over here. I needed to leave there to come here in order for that to take place. But I got that feeling when I was sitting there in LA, barely able to make rent, had just got engaged. I really wanted to show up as a provider for my new family. And I needed to also take care of my daughter who was living in Canada still. How was I gonna pull this off? I'm not making any money as a comedian. I'm basically living off of my sister. She's sending me money every month like a super bum. Like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna stand up like a man and like be the guy that I need to be to take care of all these people? And I had that feeling. I had that feeling that said, hey, why don't you look over there? And so I looked at Phoenix and I started kind of dabbling in real estate. And funny enough, I ended up putting a couple properties under contract because I already knew how to do wholesaling. I had been doing it before. I just went broke, which is why I wanted to become a comedian, right? That was my kind of in-between places, my like purgatory, if you will. But I'm there and I get this sense to look at Phoenix and start looking at Craigslist and looking at properties on there. It was just this like real weird gut feeling, even though I had burnt my hand on the proverbial stove when I was doing real estate in Canada, something called me back. And lo and behold, I find these properties, I put them under contract, and then I write an ad on Craigslist, and in 15 minutes, I sell them and I make 18,000 bucks. Like, I'm sitting here in LA not able to make any money, and then I can make $18,000 in 15 minutes? Seriously? Like, right then, I had that sensation come over me that I gotta do this. I gotta up, and I gotta leave, and I gotta go to Phoenix, and I gotta make this happen. And I remember calling my fiance at the time and saying, look, I know I told you that you're gonna marry me and we're gonna live in Los Angeles. Hear me out. I don't think LA is the place for us. I think I need to go to Phoenix. And she wasn't super feeling Phoenix, right? Because she had only heard that it gets to 100 million degrees over there and it's super hot and you can cook eggs on the sidewalk. She's like, no, I don't want to live in Phoenix. Like, what's in Phoenix? And I'm like, our future. I'm telling you, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I made 18 grand in 15 minutes. I've never done that before, that easily. I have to follow this. I have to pull on this thread. And she said, well, if you feel that, do it. And I did. And it was the best thing that, again, ever happened to me. So that sensation, that feel that you've got to elevate, that you've got to get up and go, you got to do something different. You might even feel this in a relationship. You might be sitting across the table from somebody that is no longer doing it for you. And something just comes over you and it says, this just isn't right anymore. It's time for you to elevate and get out. Now, look, I'm not telling y'all to like leave your husbands or leave your wives and like break up your families or anything like this, but I'm telling you that if it's not serving you anymore, you should take a real hard look at it, because we're not all meant to be with each other forever and ever and ever and ever. Sometimes we are meant to be with each other for a season, and sometimes we're meant to be with each other for a reason. And so you gotta look at that and you gotta understand and be grateful for who's been with you up to certain points. But this is what happens with those people that stay with their friends in high school that are still doing the same old thing. They're stuck in the same old patterns, drinking the same old beers, watching the same old games, arguing about the same old things, complaining about the same old problems. That is so lame. It is so lame. And like when I'm sitting in those relationships with those people and I'm at those events, and I remember myself sitting here with these groups of friends that were like, one of my boys, he's still living on people's couches. Right? The man's a 45-year-old man. Like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you living on somebody's couch? This is so stupid. Right? Could you imagine me being friends with this person now, like having this guy be a part of my world? No, I want nothing to do with that energy. I want nothing to do with the way you think, because the way you think gets you on someone's couch. And that's not for you. That's not for me. And so you've got to really look at these relationships. And it's going to be friends. It's going to be people. It's going to be careers. It could be a whole host of things. But if you've got inspiration to elevate and get out, listen to it. Number 6. Okay, this one is super fun because it like might even make you feel like, who are you anymore? Right? So here's the thing. Do you ever have one of those things in life that like used to really light you up and now it's not? Like for me as a kid, I loved video games. Loved them. I had
a Nintendo, a Nintendo 64, a Super Nintendo, a Sega Genesis, a TurboGrafx 16.
You're probably thinking, Jamil, I thought you were poor.
Yeah, but I stole all these things.
I had a rough childhood. I was a rough guy, but anyhow. So I had all these video games. I was really, really, really good at stealing them, and I was, enjoying that stuff. I couldn't for the life of me play a video game right now. I don't think I could get through 2 minutes of playing a video game before I would be super bored and just like not for it. So there is an absolute disconnect between me and sitting on my ass doing nothing. Not enjoyable. I used to enjoy smoking and watching movies all day long. Not a chance that I could do that now. Like you couldn't pay me to do that to my day, to waste a day in just nothing, right? Like what a waste. God gave me this day, He gave me 24 hours, and this is what I'm gonna do with it? Not a chance, right? So things that used to really make me feel good, things that used to light me up, they don't light me up anymore. And things that I never thought I would enjoy, like walking, really, really excites me. I love it. I look forward to my morning walk more than I look forward to almost anything in my day. I look forward to waking up and doing breath work, even though it's so hard. It truly is a hard thing. I'm itching. I'm itching to get into the practice, to do it, to get into that place, to get into that state so I can have that feeling, so I can start my day in the best and highest way possible. And so when I have those things happen for me, that I'm lit up, well, that's truly beautiful. And what's really fun about this is like some of the things that I really used to enjoy as a child, now I enjoy in the prime of my life. I used to love talking in groups. I used to love getting up in front of people and talking. I was like one of the greatest debaters as a young boy. And I was a public speaking champion. And then I got too cool for school, and I'm like, ew, what, debates, public speaking? Well, right? I was like way too gangster for that, or way too whatever I thought I was at that time to have like continued on in that path. Well, look at what I do for a living today. I speak in front of thousands of people. I make millions of dollars inspiring and helping people learn how to become real estate investors. That is exactly what used to light me up when I was a kid. But now it lights me up as a man. And they're so similar to each other. So it was like God put the seeds of where I was going in the most purest version of me that existed, right? So maybe look back. Maybe look back at some of the things that you really enjoyed to do when you were a kid. Like, did you like to paint? Did you like to draw? Did you like making puzzles? Were you interested in crafts? Were you, good at poetry? I don't know, whatever it is. Those little things, they were there for a reason. They were given to you as aspects of your purest self. And now, if you're unpacking and unlearning the toxicity that gets put on us through culture and learning and crazy people and really bad parents or whatever it is that like has put a lot of toxic belief structures on you, well, as we break those off, as we unlearn those things, it reveals to us again the purest nature of ourselves, right? And those little things. And so don't be surprised that all of a sudden you don't like watching football anymore. And don't be surprised that all of a sudden you want to start listening to classical music. I used to love listening to 90s gangster rap. I can't do it anymore. It just doesn't resonate with me anymore. I'd rather listen to like a piano, straight up. I get way more enjoyment out of that than I do anything else, except for Tupac. I still love Tupac. I don't know if I'm not going to ever love Tupac, but that's the only one, okay? So, again, right, what used to light you up, lights you up now, and you're starting to like let go of things that just aren't interesting anymore. Number 7, sudden anxiety before a big thing enters or leaves your life. So, let's just say something big happens, and then you remember, oh my God, I was super anxious. I was feeling anxiety all day yesterday, and then today this big event happens. Well, that is signaling to you that there's attention needed here. Okay, now, I don't want you to think that all anxiety is bad. Anxiety is not bad. Okay, anxiety is a tool. Again, another emotion given to us by our Creator to signal something. Anxiety is a natural byproduct of change. And we all know that change isn't all bad. Change is growth. And so, of course, you're gonna feel anxiety when things are different. That's what happens when things change, right? So you're gonna get this anxiety. And so how do you navigate that? Well, you have to be able to sit through the discomfort, and you still gotta be able to push through. And so you don't wanna automatically assume that just because you're getting anxiety over this that it's a bad thing, but it does mean that you should pay attention to it. Now, again, when you're unpacking the situation, maybe it's this sign that you're in the wrong relationship, or maybe it's a sign that you're in the wrong business partnership, or maybe it's a sign that this is the investment you need to make, right? Whatever that is, that anxiety is going to happen because you are changing from one identity to another identity, and when we're in something that's unknown, anxiety happens. Number 8, things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore, right? Like, think about it. Imagine you're in a relationship and this one thing that this person does all the time used to drive you bananas. Now when it happens, you're like, meh, I don't care. Well, hey, that's a sign that you're growing. That's a sign that your energies have shifted. And so when things that used to really, really get under your skin no longer get under your skin, it's a sign of growth. It's a sign that you're maturing or that you've changed potentially your perspectives on things. Right? I used to get super bothered by people who had like really polarizing political beliefs, right? I didn't care if you were on like the super far left, if you were on the super far right. If you were on a fringe, it would like gross me out, right? Because I would feel like you're a fanatic and you're like a crazy person. I don't really care anymore. I meet crazy people all the time, and you know what? If you want to be a fanatic on the left or you want to be a fanatic on the right, have fun. Enjoy it. That's for you. That's your brain cells. Those are your energies. Those are your things to have to deal with. I'm happy being your friend either way. It doesn't matter to me. I really don't care where you are. And if you want to be polarized, hey, all the power to you. Now, there's no chance I would have been able to have this and say it with a straight face 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, politically polarizing people were like gross to me. It would make me nauseous. Today, it's just exactly what the country is. And so I don't want to get grossed out by, 100% of the country. Well, not 100% of the people are politically polarized, but you know what I'm saying, right? Those like far fringes. And so is there something in your world that used to really bother you and really just doesn't matter anymore? Maybe it's something that someone is doing. Maybe it's like a specific thing in a business. Maybe all of a sudden, like you used to really not love paperwork, and then all of a sudden now you're super detail oriented and want to just understand processes and paperwork like never before. So these shifts, these things, often what ends up happening is an aspect of ourselves that we blocked away becomes unblocked, becomes activated in us. And that new activated part of ourselves has a whole host of aversions and proclivities that are real. And so that's this evolution of the self becoming more and more of itself. So again, pay attention to the things that light you up. Pay attention to the things that used to light you up and don't light you up anymore, because they're signs. Sign number 9 that you are being communicated to by the universe, the creator, whatever you want to call it, is that silence becomes a refuge. Now, for me, I used to have to fill silence with talk or something. I used to have to do something. I was like, I can't handle this silence. It's driving me crazy. I feel so anxious. I feel like, what's going on? Let's do something. Let's go somewhere. Let's stop this monotony. This like flat line of a situation here is really uncomfortable for me. Now, it's the exact opposite. When I'm in busy environments, I actually want to leave them. When I'm in chaotic situations, I don't want to be there anymore. When I have an opportunity to just sit still, like there is nothing more enjoyable to me than that. Just quiet, silence, nothing. I can sit with my girlfriend and we could drive for hours and not even say a word and just be super content in each other's presence without the need for anything extra. And that's a beautiful thing. And even to have with yourself, it's an even greater beauty. Can you sit in silence with yourself without having to distract yourself, right? Do you all of a sudden have to jump on your phone because you're not doing anything and you're bored? Like, how many people do you know that wouldn't be able to just hang out and not start scrolling or doing something, going on TikTok or, stimulating themselves in some way, because just the idea of not having that stimulus or having something to distract them is like emotionally draining for them. And they can't do it. But when you actually start to feel that guidance, silence becomes the place where you hear it. And so you actually look for more opportunities to be in silence. You look to find more places, situations, people who give you that stillness. And in fact, silence and stillness, they're concepts that are mentioned in the Bible, in the Holy Quran, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Torah. Like all of the major monotheistic and polytheistic faiths have reverence for silence. And in that silence, all shall become known to you, right? And so try it. That's why I love meditation so much, because when I first started meditating, it was hell. I hated it. It was like the worst thing. Well, I also had a hangover at the time because I was like an alcoholic. But, you know, I'm not even an alcoholic anymore because I dropped that. It no longer became an aspect of who I was because the work I was doing was changing me at a cellular level. And so the same thing can happen for you. When you find yourself drawn to silence, there's a good chance that there's something there for you. Now, if you're one of those people like I was that can't stand silence, you got to do something, you got to be somewhere, you got to be talking, you got to be hearing, you got to be engaged. Maybe you can't work with no music. Maybe you have to constantly have something going on in the background. Maybe you can't fall asleep without the TV going. I'm sure there's a couple hundred of you watching this right now who are like, yeah, that's me. Well, there's probably some attention that's needed, right? Your inner self is trying to tell you something and your ego is making so much noise to block it out because it doesn't want to do something that might be a risk. And that risk is actually the biggest blessing that you will ever have in your life. And so it is time for you to get quiet, be still, so that you may know the Lord. All right, the final one, number 10. Now, guys, this isn't an exhaustive list. You might have number 11, 12, 13. Leave them in the comments, but this one is one of my favorites because number 10 is a doozy. Life is absolutely falling apart, right? It's absolutely crashing to the ground and burning. Now, maybe you're going to say, Jamil, what are you talking about? Like, if life is crashing down and burning for me, how is it even possible that that's God or the universe communicating to me? Well, maybe that's exactly what's needed because you've been going in the wrong direction for quite some time. You see, when something is meant to happen, you're either going to do it because you naturally align to it or because it's forced on you. Like when I needed to take a break, when I really needed to take a break, and I wasn't listening to my body, what happened? My body revolted on me and it broke my own neck and then forced me into the hospital and then forced me to take a break, right? So if I had listened to my body, I probably wouldn't have gone through that really painful physical experience. But because I wasn't listening to myself, it did it for me, right? And so when things are crashing down, like, oh my God, I've just lost my job, and oh my God, there goes my relationship, and oh my God, there goes my friends, and oh, wow, like there goes my house. I can't even live here anymore. Now I got to change cities. Like, thank God that it's happening. Because when it's all burning down, like the phoenix, you can rise from those flames. You just have to be the phoenix. You've got to be able to understand that this is a period of time for you to gestate. This is the cocoon stage. This is where you need to go within and you have to really find out what's important to you so that you can unfold and become the butterfly that you're meant to be. So embrace those. You see, a lot of times new beginnings are disguised as painful endings. So enjoy them and really understand that everything in life is happening for your benefit, whether you know it or not. Friends, if this was enjoyable to you and you got something out of this, do me a favor, leave me a comment. And if there's other things that you've noticed in your life that are signs from the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, and they've been helpful for you, I'd love to learn about them. So leave me a comment. And if you want to see more content like this, because I enjoy mindset and personal development so much, it lights me up and I want to do more of it. So let me know. Let me know in the comments what kind of topics you'd like me to kind of touch, and we'll do them. Friends, again, share this video with a friend if you think somebody would be helped by it. And otherwise, like it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.